The 42nd floor of Cross Industries Tower hummed with the kind of tension that made grown executives check their phones twice and avoid eye contact. Nathan Cross had that effect on people. At 34, he had built an empire that stretched across 3 continents, and his reputation for crushing anyone who stood in his way was legendary in business circles. Linda. Martinez adjusted her glasses nervously as she watched the elevator numbers climb. 20 years at this company, and she still felt her stomach clench whenever the CEO made one of his surprise floor visits. The employees called him the Ice King behind his back, though never loud enough for him to hear. "Mr. Cross is on his way down," Linda announced into her headset, her voice carrying the warning tone of someone announcing an incoming hurricane. Across the open office space, keyboards clicked faster. Conversations died mid-sentence. Several people suddenly found urgent reasons to visit the bathroom. Nathan Cross stepped out of the elevator like he owned the world, which technically he did own a significant portion of it. His charcoal gray suit was perfectly tailored, his dark hair styled with precision, and his steel blue eyes swept across the office with the calculating gaze of a predator. He had learned long ago that fear was more effective than friendship. In business. Status report on the Henderson account, he commanded without preamble, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. 3 department heads scrambled to respond simultaneously, their words tumbling over each other in their haste to please him. That was when Sophia Chen walked in. She moved through the revolving door with the confidence of someone who would never learn to be intimidated. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore a navy blue dress that was professional without being expensive. And she carried a leather portfolio that had seen better days. But what made heads turn was not her appearance, it was the way she walked. Sophia Chen walked like she belonged anywhere she chose to be. Linda looked up from her computer screen as Sophia approached the reception desk. "Can I help you?" "I'm here for the executive assistant position," Sophia replied, her voice warm but direct. "I have an appointment with Mr. Cross." Linda's eyebrows shot up. "You're the new secretary candidate?" She glanced toward Nathan, who was still grilling. "The department head's about quarterly projections. You might want to wait. He's in one of his moods." Sophia followed Linda's gaze and watched Nathan Cross in action. He stood with his arms crossed, his expression carved from granite, while 3 successful executives fumbled through explanations like nervous students. One of them actually dropped his tablet, and Nathan's look of disdain could have frozen lava. "Seems like a regular Tuesday to me," Sophia said with a slight smile. Before Linda could respond, Nathan's voice boomed across the office. "Martinez, where is my new assistant?" The interview was scheduled for 10 minutes ago. The 3 executives scattered like leaves in a windstorm, grateful for the reprieve. Linda shot Sophia a look that clearly said good luck surviving this. But Sophia was already walking toward Nathan's office. "Mr. Cross." Sophia's voice carried just enough volume to reach him without shouting. "I'm Sophia Chen. I believe you're expecting me." Nathan turned, and for a moment, something flickered across his features. He had been expecting another trembling mouse like his last 4 assistants. Instead, he found himself looking at a woman who met his gaze directly without flinching or looking away. "You're late," he said, though they both knew she wasn't. "Actually, I'm exactly on time. Your previous meeting ran over by 12 minutes. Sophia glanced at her simple watch, which according to the company handbook I read happens approximately 60% of the time with Tuesday morning departmental reviews. A murmur rippled through the nearby cubicles. Someone had just corrected Nathan Cross on punctuality and cited company statistics while doing it. James Park, the head of security, paused his rounds to watch what he was certain would be the shortest job interview in company history. Nathan's eyes narrowed. "Follow me." His office occupied the entire corner of the floor with floor-to-ceiling, windows offering a commanding view of the city. The furniture was modern and expensive, the kind that looked beautiful but wasn't designed for comfort. Nathan settled behind his massive desk like a king taking his throne. "Sit," he commanded, gesturing to a chair that positioned her lower than his desk level, a classic power move. Sophia looked at the chair, and at Nathan, then walked to the window instead. "Incredible view," she said, genuinely admiring the cityscape. "You can see the harbor from here. I bet the sunsets are amazing, Miss Chen." Nathan's voice carried a warning. "I said sit." Sophia turned back to him with a pleasant expression. "I heard you. But I've been sitting in traffic for an hour and I think better when I'm standing." unless you prefer employees who can't think. Clearly, the silence that followed was deafening. Through the glass walls, Linda watched with her hand over her mouth. Several employees had found reasons to walk past Nathan's office, their eyes wide with disbelief. Nathan Cross was not accustomed to being contradicted. He was not used to candidates who rearranged his interview process to suit their preferences. And he was definitely not prepared for someone who seemed utterly unimpressed by his intimidation tactics. "Let's discuss your qualifications," he said, his tone dropping to what his employees called Arctic Circle temperature. "Certainly. I have a degree in business administration, 5 years of executive support experience, and I'm fluent in 4 languages. I'm also excellent at managing difficult personalities and complex schedules." She paused, meeting his stare. "The question is, what qualifies you to be my boss?" If the earlier silence had been deafening, this one was apocalyptic. Nathan felt something he hadn't experienced in years: genuine surprise. People spent fortunes on consultants to teach them how to handle Nathan Cross, and this woman was treating him like a job candidate. "I beg your pardon?" "Well, I'm interviewing you too," Sophia explained reasonably. "I need to know if you're the kind of boss who inspires excellence or just demands it through fear, because I don't work well in fear-based environments. They bring out my rebellious side." Nathan leaned back in his chair, studying her with new interest. "And what does your rebellious side look like, Miss Chen?" "Productivity through passive resistance. Creative interpretation of instructions. Unnecessary transparency with company policies." She smiled, and Nathan noticed it reached her eyes. "Nothing illegal, just inconvenient for tyrants." "I see." Nathan steepled his fingers, a gesture that usually preceded someone getting fired. "And you think I'm a tyrant?" "I think you're someone who's used to getting his way through intimidation rather than leadership. But I also think there might be more to you than that reputation." Sophia finally moved away from the window, but instead of sitting in the designated chair, she leaned against the bookshelf. "The question is whether you're interested in finding out." For 30 seconds, Nathan said nothing. He had built his empire on control, on being the smartest and most ruthless person in every room. People feared him because fear meant respect, and respect meant power. But sitting across from Sophia Chen, he felt something shift in the carefully constructed foundations of his world. "The salary is $80,000, he said finally. "The market rate for executive assistants with my qualifications is $95,000, Sophia replied without hesitation. "Plus health benefits, 3 weeks vacation, and a clause in my contract that prevents you from firing me for the first 6 months unless I do something actually illegal." Nathan's jaw tightened. "You're negotiating before I've even offered you the job. I'm establishing boundaries before I accept it." "There's a difference." Sophia straightened, adjusting her portfolio. "Look, Mr. Cross, I know your reputation. You've had 12 assistants in the past 2 years. It's not because you're unlucky with hiring, it's because you're impossible to work for. I'm offering you a chance to change that pattern." "And why? Would I want to change anything? Because fear only works until you meet someone who isn't afraid of you?" Sophia walked toward the door, then paused with her hand on the handle. "And because somewhere under all that armor, you're probably tired of being alone at the top." She opened the door and stepped into the hallway, leaving Nathan sitting in his office with his mouth slightly open. Through the glass walls, he could see the entire floor watching her walk to the elevator. Sophia pressed the button and waited, completely calm, as if she hadn't just dismantled a billionaire's ego in under 20 minutes. Nathan stood abruptly and strode to his door. Miss Chen turned, one eyebrow raised in polite inquiry. "Report to HR to complete your paperwork. You start Monday at 8 a.m. sharp." "I'll be here at 8:15, Sophia replied pleasantly. "I don't do mornings well, but I stay late to compensate." Fair trade. As the elevator doors closed behind her, Nathan found himself staring at his own reflection in the polished metal. For the first time in years, he was looking forward to coming to work on Monday. And for the first time in his life, he wasn't entirely sure he was going to win this particular battle. Linda Martinez watched her boss return to his office with an expression she'd never seen before, something that might have been confusion mixed with intrigue. Around the floor, employees began to whisper excitedly about the woman who had just negotiated with the Ice King and lived to tell about it. Nobody knew it yet. Everything was about to change at Cross Industries, And it all started with a woman who wasn't afraid to tell Nathan Cross exactly what she thought of him. Monday morning arrived like a storm everyone could see coming, but nobody was prepared for. Nathan Cross stood at his office window, watching the city wake up below him, but his mind was elsewhere. All weekend, he had found himself thinking about Sophia Chen and her audacious interview performance. No one had ever spoken to him like that and lived to tell about it professionally. At exactly 8:15 a.m., the elevator doors opened, and Sophia stepped onto the 42nd floor. She wore a crisp white blouse and black pants, carrying the same weathered leather portfolio. Her punctual lateness was somehow both irritating and impressive. Emma Rodriguez, the finance director, was grabbing coffee when she witnessed what would become legendary around the office. Nathan Cross actually came out of his office to greet his new assistant. "Miss Chen," he said, his voice carrying across the floor. "Good morning, Mr. Cross. Beautiful day, isn't it?" Sophia replied, seemingly oblivious to the dozen pairs of eyes watching their interaction. "Your desk," Nathan gestured to the workstation position strategically outside his office. Previous assistants had called it the hot seat because it offered no protection from Nathan's sudden demands and volatile moods. Sophia examined the setup with the critical eye of someone evaluating battlefield positions. The desk faced Nathan's office directly, making it impossible to avoid his intimidating presence. The computer was an older model, the chair looked uncomfortable, and there wasn't a single personal touch anywhere. "Interesting," she murmured, then walked into Nathan's office without invitation. "Excuse me," Nathan followed her, his voice sharp. "I didn't invite you in. I need to understand your workflow if I'm going to manage it effectively," Sophia replied. Studying the chaos of his desk, papers were scattered everywhere. 3 different coffee cups sat at various stages of abandonment. And his calendar looked like someone had thrown scheduling darts at it blindfolded. "My office organization is not your concern." Sophia picked up a contract that was half buried under pizza boxes from what appeared to be several different meals. "This Henderson deal you were discussing on Friday? The contract signature deadline was this morning at 9 a.m. Nathan's face went pale. The Henderson deal was worth $47 million, and he had completely forgotten about the signing deadline in his weekend distraction. "Call Henderson's office immediately," he barked. "Already did," Sophia said calmly, pulling out her phone. "I took the liberty of reviewing your calendar over the weekend and noticed several urgent items that seemed overlooked. Mr. Henderson was quite understanding about moving the signing to 10:30 this morning. Apparently his assistant is also dealing with a disorganized boss." The silence that followed was broken by Emma Rodriguez dropping her coffee mug in the hallway. Nathan Cross never forgot important deadlines. He was famous for his photographic memory when it came to business details. Yet somehow, his new assistant had just saved him from a catastrophic oversight. "How did you access my calendar?" "Keep me your business email password during Friday's paperwork session," Sophia replied. "I assumed you wanted me to actually assist you, not just sit at that museum piece you call a desk and look decorative." Oliver Hayes, a nervous intern from accounting, chose that moment to knock on the open office door. Mr. Cross? There's a problem with the Morrison account. They're threatening to pull their contract because of some billing errors." Nathan's expression darkened. The Morrison account was worth $12 million annually. Billing errors were exactly the kind of amateur mistakes that made him lose faith in his entire operation. "How much of an error?" Nathan's voice could have frozen. "Coffee." Oliver clutched his tablet like a life preserver. "Well, sir, it appears we've been overcharging them by about 15% for the past 6 months. They're demanding a full audit and threatening legal action." 15%? Nathan's voice rose. "What is a 15% billing error? Go unnoticed for 6 months?" "Actually," Sophia interjected, "it didn't go unnoticed." Both men turned to look at her. She was holding a manila folder that she had apparently retrieved from somewhere in Nathan's organized chaos. "Rachel Kim in HR flagged this discrepancy 3 months ago. She sent you a memo about it." Sophia opened the folder and pulled out a printed email. He never responded, so she sent a follow-up 2 weeks later. When that was also ignored, she assumed you had decided the overcharge was intentional. Nathan stared at the email, recognizing his own address in the recipient line. He had no memory of ever seeing it. "I never received this." "It's in your email archive, marked as read." Sophia handed him the printed copy. along with 47 other flagged issues from various department heads that are sitting in your inbox like ticking time bombs. Oliver looked between Nathan and Sophia like he was watching a tennis match played with grenades. "Mr. Hayes," Sophia said gently, "please tell Mr. Morrison that Mr. Cross will personally call him within the hour to discuss a resolution. Also let Rachel Kim know that we'll be implementing a new system for urgent communications." Oliver nodded eagerly and scurried away, grateful to escape the tension in the office. Nathan was still staring at the email, his jaw working silently. "This could have cost us $12 million. It still might," Sophia agreed. "But wallowing in blame won't fix it. Action will. Don't lecture me about business management." "I'm not lecturing you about business management," I'm pointing out. "That you're drowning in your own success?" Sophia gestured to the chaos around them. "You've built an empire, but you're trying to micromanage every detail personally. That's not leadership, that's ego." The words hit Nathan like a physical blow. It built Cross Industries from nothing, working 18-hour days, making every decision personally, trusting no one completely. It had made him successful, but it had also made him isolated and, apparently, ineffective. "So what do you suggest, Miss Chen?" "That I hand over control of my company to my employees. Suggest you learn the difference between delegation and abdication." Sophia walked to his window, looking out at the city. "You have brilliant people working for you, but you've trained them to be afraid of making decisions without your approval, so they don't make decisions at all. They just pile problems on your desk and wait for you to solve everything." Nathan joined her at the window, something he never did during business hours. "And you think you can fix this?" "I think we can fix this. If you're willing to trust someone besides yourself for more than 5 minutes at a time." That afternoon, Sophia did something unprecedented in Cross Industries history. She called a meeting, not with the executive team or the department heads, but with the middle managers and senior staff, the people who actually made the company run day to day. Ron Rodriguez found herself sitting next to Rachel Kim from HR, while James Park from security sat across from Oliver Hayes and 2 other junior executives. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," Sophia began, standing at the head of the conference room table. "I know this is unusual, but I wanted to discuss communication protocols." David Thompson, a board member who had wandered in, out of curiosity, leaned back in his chair with an amused expression. "Ms. Chen, I'm not sure you have the authority to call company meetings." "You're absolutely right," Sophia agreed pleasantly. "I don't have the authority, but I have the responsibility. Mr. Krause hired me to manage his schedule and communications. And right now, both are disasters." She walked to the whiteboard and wrote a single word: trust. "How many of you have sent urgent memos to Mr. Cross that went unanswered?" Sophia asked. Every hand in the room went up, including David Thompson's. "How many of you stopped sending urgent memos because you assumed he didn't want to hear from you?" The hand stayed up. "That ends today." Sophia turned to face the group. "Mr. Cross isn't ignoring you because he doesn't value your input. He's drowning in information and doesn't have a system to prioritize it. So we're going to build one." For the next hour, Sophia did something that no one in Cross Industries had ever experienced. She listened. She asked questions. She took notes. And most importantly, she treated every person in that room like their opinion mattered. Emma Rodriguez found herself explaining the budget approval bottlenecks that had been frustrating her for months. Rachel Kim detailed the HR issues that needed executive attention. Oliver Hayes, emboldened by the supportive atmosphere, even suggested improvements to the client communication system. "This is all very nice," David Thompson said as the meeting wound down, "but what makes you think Nathan will approve any of these changes? He's not exactly known for flexibility." Sophia smiled, and Emma noticed it was the same confident expression she had worn during her legendary interview. "Because he's going to help design them." That evening, Nathan worked late as usual, but for the first time in months, his desk was actually organized. Sophia had somehow managed to sort through the chaos, creating neat piles of documents categorized by urgency and department. A single, manila folder sat in the center of his desk with a note attached. "Start here. The rest can wait until tomorrow." Inside the folder were the 3 most critical issues facing the company, each with a proposed solution and the contact information for the employee who could implement it. At the bottom was a simple question written in Sophia's neat handwriting. "Ready to try trusting your team?" Nathan looked up to find Sophia standing in his doorway, her purse slung over her shoulder. Going home? He asked. Eventually. I wanted to make sure you didn't need anything else today. She paused. How did the call with Morrison go? Better than expected. We're implementing a new billing review process, and they're satisfied with our response. Nathan hesitated. Thank you for catching that error. Just doing my job. No, Nathan said quietly. You saved my company $12 million and potentially my reputation. That's significantly above and beyond your job description. Sophia studied his face for a moment, and Nathan realized she was seeing something in his expression that he usually kept hidden. Vulnerability, maybe? Or gratitude? Mr. Cross, can I ask you something personal? Nathan tensed instinctively, I suppose. When was the last time you went home before midnight? The question caught him off guard. I don't see how that's relevant to your position. It's relevant because you're running yourself into the ground trying to control everything personally. And a burned-out CEO makes bad decisions that affect everyone who works here. Sophia shifted her purse strap, looked at your calendar for the past 6 months. You haven't taken a day off? You eat most meals at your desk, and you schedule meetings during lunch breaks. I'm building an empire, Miss Chen. Empires require sacrifice. Whose sacrifice? Yours or everyone else's? Sophia asked gently. Because from what I've seen today, your employees are brilliant, dedicated, completely capable of making good decisions if you give them the chance. Nathan found himself looking out at the city lights, thinking about the meeting Sophia had called that afternoon. David Thompson had mentioned it casually, describing it as refreshingly productive, and noting that several long-standing issues had been addressed in a single hour. Tomorrow, Nathan said finally, I want you to schedule a series of one-on-one meetings with each department head. 30 minutes each. I want to hear directly from them about the issues in their areas. Sophia smiled, and Nathan noticed again how it transformed her entire face. I'll set those up first thing in the morning. And Miss Chen, thank you for today. She walked toward the elevator. Nathan found himself watching her reflection in the window. For the first time in years, he was looking forward to tomorrow's meetings. For the first time in his career, he was beginning to think that maybe, just maybe, he didn't have to carry the entire weight of his empire alone. The war between them was evolving into something neither had expected: partnership. 3 weeks after Sophia Chen arrived at Cross Industries, the company was unrecognizable. The fear that had once permeated every floor had been replaced by something unprecedented: enthusiasm. Employees smiled in the hallways, offered suggestions in meetings, and actually seemed to enjoy coming to work. Nathan Cross was having the strangest experience of his professional life. He was learning to trust other people. The Morrison account wants to extend their contract by 2 years.
Oh, yes.
They were so impressed with our new billing transparency system that they're recommending us 2-3 other companies. Excellent, Nathan replied, making notes in his tablet. 3 weeks ago, he would have demanded a detailed report about every aspect of the Morrison account management. Today, he simply trusted Emma to handle it competently. The employee satisfaction survey results are in, Rachel Kim added, consulting her tablet. 93% positive responses. That's up from 41% last quarter. Sophia, who sat at a small desk in the corner taking minutes, looked up with surprise. 41%? That's barely functional. It was a difficult period, Nathan said quietly. And something in his tone made the room fall silent. David Thompson, who had become a regular attendee at these meetings, cleared his throat. Nathan, there's something we need to discuss. The Hartwell Industries situation. Nathan's expression darkened immediately. What about Hartwell? Michael Santos has been making aggressive moves to acquire some of our smaller clients. He's offering contracts at below market rates, which suggests he's planning something bigger. Michael Santos. Nathan hadn't heard that name in 2 years, and he had hoped never to hear it again. Santos had been his business partner once, back when Cross Industries was just a startup with big dreams. Their partnership had ended explosively. When Nathan discovered that Michael had been secretly negotiating to sell their company to a competitor, how many clients has he approached? Nathan asked, his voice taking on the cold edge that everyone remembered from the old days. 7 that we know of? 3 have already jumped ship. Sophia watched Nathan's transformation with growing concern. In 3 weeks, She had seen him evolve from a tyrant into something approaching a normal human being. But at the mention of Michael Santos, all of that progress seemed to evaporate. His shoulders tensed, his jaw clenched, and his eyes took on the calculating hardness she remembered from their first meeting. Sir Oliver Hayes spoke up nervously from his corner seat. There's something else. Santos has been asking questions about our new management structure, specifically about Miss Chen. Every head in the room turned toward Sophia, who suddenly felt like she was under a microscope. What kind of questions? Nathan's voice was dangerously quiet. He wanted to know about her background, her qualifications, her authority level within the company. Oliver consulted his notes. One of our former clients mentioned that Santos seemed particularly interested in whether she was making strategic decisions or just administrative ones. Nathan stood abruptly, walking to the window with the predatory grace that had earned him. His reputation. He's looking for weaknesses. Or trying to poach her, Emma suggested. If he's heard about the changes around here, he might want to recruit whoever's responsible. No one poaches my employees, Nathan said, his voice carrying the kind of finality that had once terrified entire boardrooms. Mr. Cross, Sophia said carefully, maybe we should focus on why he's targeting your clients rather than why he's asking. About me. Nathan turned to look at her, and Sophia was startled by the intensity in his eyes. You don't understand, Miss Chen. Michael Santos doesn't do anything without a reason. If he's asking about you, it's because he's planning to use that information against me, against you, or against the company. With Michael, there's no difference. That afternoon, Nathan called Sophia into his office and closed the door, something he rarely did anymore since implementing the new open communication policy. I need to tell you something about Michael Santos, he began, settling into his chair with visible tension. You don't owe me explanations about your business relationships, Mr. Cross. This isn't just business. Nathan was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the city. Michael and I started this company together 8 years ago. We were best friends, partners, brothers, in every way that mattered. I trusted him completely. Sophia waited, sensing that this story didn't end well. 2 years into our partnership, when we were just starting to become successful, I discovered that Michael had been secretly negotiating to sell Cross Industries to Hartwell Corp. He was going to walk away with $15 million and leave me with nothing. What did you do? I bought him out, used every penny I had, mortgaged everything I owned, called in every favor I was owed. It nearly bankrupted me, but I kept the company. Nathan's voice hardened. And I swore I would never trust anyone that completely again. Sophia began to understand why Nathan had built such walls around himself. That's why you micromanage everything, why you have trouble delegating. Exactly. Now he's back, trying to destroy what I've built. Nathan looked directly at her. I won't let him hurt this company. I won't let him hurt the people who work here, including me, especially you. The words came out more intensely than Nathan had intended, and both of them felt the weight of what he had just revealed. Before Sophia could respond, Nathan's phone rang. The caller ID showed a number he recognized immediately. Nathan Cross, he answered, his voice professionally neutral. Hello, Nathan. It's been too long. Santos's voice was exactly as Nathan remembered it, smooth, confident, and completely untrustworthy. Michael, I hear you've been busy. Oh, you know me. Always looking for new opportunities. Speaking of which, I hear you've made some interesting changes at Cross Industries. New management structure, improved employee satisfaction. Very impressive. Nathan's grip tightened on the phone. Get to the point. I'd like to meet. Discuss some potential collaboration opportunities. Perhaps we could put the past behind us and find ways to work together again. I'm not interested in collaboration. Not even if I told you I could triple your market share in the Asian sector within 6 months? Nathan hesitated. The Asian market had been his white whale for 3 years, a massive opportunity that had consistently slipped through his fingers due to cultural barriers and established competitors. One meeting, Michael continued smoothly. Just coffee. Oh, what could it hurt? Nathan looked at Sophia, who was watching him with an expression of growing concern. One meeting, Nathan agreed finally, but I choose the location, of course. What? About that little cafe near the harbor? Tomorrow at 2 p.m.? And Nathan, bring your new assistant. I'm very curious to meet the woman who's managed to tame the infamous Nathan Cross. The line went dead. leaving Nathan staring at his phone with a mixture of anger and dread. "He wants to meet both of us," Nathan told Sophia. "That's obviously a trap. Obviously. But it's also an opportunity to find out what he's really after." Nathan stood, beginning to pace. "Michael Santos doesn't make moves without extensive planning. If he's targeting my clients and asking about you specifically, there's a bigger strategy at work. So we go to this meeting and find out what he wants." "We." Nathan stopped pacing. "Absolutely not. You're not getting anywhere near Michael Santos. Cross, with all due respect, I'm not a fragile flower that needs protection. I can handle one business meeting with your ex-partner. You don't understand what you're dealing with." Michael Santos is. Nathan struggled to find the right words. "He's charming, intelligent, and completely ruthless. He finds people's weaknesses and exploits them without hesitation. And you think I'm weak? I think you're important to this company, and I think losing you would be exactly the kind of victory Michael is looking for." The admission hung in the air between them, loaded with implications that neither was quite ready to address. "Mr. Cross," Sophia said gently, "you've spent 3 weeks learning to trust your employees. Maybe it's time to trust me too." The next afternoon, Nathan and Sophia arrived at the Harbor Cafe 15 minutes early. Nathan had chosen the location, specifically because it was public, well-lit, and offered multiple exit routes. He had also arranged for James Park to be seated at a nearby table, just in case. Michael Santos arrived precisely on time, and Sophia immediately understood why Nathan had been so concerned. Michael was tall, perfectly groomed, and possessed the kind of effortless charisma that made people want to like him instantly. His smile seemed genuine, his handshake was firm, but not aggressive, and his eyes sparkled with intelligence and warmth. Was, in short, exactly the kind of man who could convince you to trust him completely before destroying you. "Nathan." Michael approached their table with arms outstretched. "You look fantastic. Success suits you." "Michael." Nathan's response was carefully neutral. "Here and this must be the famous Sophia Chen." Michael turned his attention to her with the full force of his considerable charm. "I've heard remarkable things about the changes you've implemented at Cross Industries." "Mr. Santos," Sophia replied politely, noting how Michael's eyes seemed to catalog every detail of her appearance and demeanor. They settled at the table, and Michael ordered coffee with the easy confidence of someone completely comfortable in his own skin. "So," Michael began, "I'll cut right to the chase. I have a proposition for both of you." "I'm listening," Nathan said carefully. "Hartwell Industries wants to merge with Cross Industries. Full partnership, equal shares, combined resources. Could dominate the entire North American market within 2 years." Nathan's laugh was cold. "You want me to merge with the same company you tried to sell me to 8 years ago? That was different. We were young, inexperienced, and we know what we're doing." Michael leaned forward earnestly. "Nathan, think about what we could accomplish together. Your operational excellence combined with Hartwell's international connections and capital resources. And what would my role be in this merger, co-CEO? Naturally, you and I, running the combined company as equal partners." Sophia watched the exchange carefully, noting how Michael's proposal hit all of Nathan's obvious pressure points. The promise of market dominance, the appeal to their former friendship, the suggestion of equal partnership. It was masterfully presented. "It's very generous," Nathan said slowly, "but I'm not interested in partnerships. Even if the alternative is watching your company slowly lose market share to more aggressive competitors." Michael's tone remained friendly, but there was steel underneath. "Nathan, the business landscape has changed. The days of small, independent companies competing with corporate giants are over. You can either adapt or be absorbed. Is that a threat? It's reality, but it doesn't have to be unpleasant." Michael turned to Sophia with his most winning smile. "Miss Chen, you've done remarkable work transforming Cross Industries' internal culture. Imagine what you could accomplish with the resources of a truly major corporation behind you." "I'm quite happy where I am. Thank you," Sophia replied evenly. "Of course you are. But happiness isn't the same as opportunity, is it? At Hartwell Industries, someone with your talents could have a real voice in strategic decisions. Director of operations, perhaps, or even vice president of corporate development." Nathan's jaw tightened. "Miss Chen is perfectly positioned where she is." "Is she?" "Nathan, with all due respect to your recent improvements, Cross Industries is still a relatively small company. Chen's innovations could have global impact with the right platform. Michael's smile never wavered. I'm simply suggesting that limiting such talent to a single organization might not be in anyone's best interests. Sophia felt the careful balance of the conversation shifting. Michael was simultaneously offering Nathan a partnership and undermining his confidence in keeping his key employees. It was psychological warfare disguised as a business lunch. "Mr. Santos," Sophia said calmly, "may I ask you something?" "Of course." "Cross Industries is such a small, limited company. Why is Hartwell Industries so interested in merging with it?" Michael's smile flickered for just a moment. "Well, you're essentially arguing that Nathan's company is too small to provide significant opportunities, while simultaneously proposing that your much larger company needs to merge with it. That seems contradictory." Nathan watched with growing admiration as Sophia calmly dismantled Michael's carefully constructed argument. "Unless," Sophia continued thoughtfully, "Cross Industries has something Hartwell Industries needs but can't replicate. Something valuable enough to justify a full merger rather than simple acquisition." Michael's charm slipped another notch. "Miss Chen, I think you're overcomplicating the employee loyalty," Sophia said suddenly, the pieces clicking into place. "That's what you're after? Cross Industries has something Hartwell can't buy, a workforce that actually believes in their company." Nathan stared at her, realizing she was absolutely right. Hartwell Industries was notorious for high employee turnover, low morale, and constant internal power struggles. Cross Industries, especially in the past 3 weeks, had become exactly the opposite. "You don't want to merge with Nathan's company," Sophia said, her voice gaining confidence. "You want to absorb his employees and his corporate culture? And you're hoping that offering him a co-CEO position will give you legitimacy with his workforce during the transition." Michael's facade finally cracked completely. "Miss Chen, you're remarkably perceptive. Perhaps we should discuss your future opportunities more seriously. There's nothing to discuss. I know exactly where my loyalties lie." Michael stood, his friendly demeanor completely gone. "Nathan, you've trained your assistant well. But loyalty is a luxury you might not be able to afford much longer." "Is that another threat?" Nathan asked, rising to meet Michael's gaze. "It's a prediction. Enjoy your independence while it lasts." Michael dropped a $20 bill on the table. "Chen, if you ever decide you want to work for a company with real vision, you know how to reach me." After Michael left, Nathan and Sophia sat in silence for several minutes, watching boats move across the harbor. "Thank you," Nathan said finally. "For what?" "For seeing through his manipulation. For standing with me when he tried to recruit you." Nathan paused. "For reminding me that some people actually can be trusted." "Oh, no. Sophia looked at him carefully. "Mr. Cross, can I ask you something personal?" "Nathan?"
What?
"I think we're past formal titles. At this point, Nathan, why was it so important to you that I stay? I mean, he was offering me positions that most people would consider career opportunities." Nathan was quiet for a long moment, watching the sunlight dance on the water. "Because somewhere in the past 3 weeks, you stopped being just my assistant. You became," he struggled to find the right words, "you became the person who reminds me that there's more to life than winning and losing. And what's that? Building something worth caring about. Creating a place where people want to be, not just where they have to be." Nathan met her eyes. "You didn't just reorganize my company, Sophia. You reminded me why I wanted to build it in the first place." That evening, Nathan did something he hadn't done in 8 years. He left the office at 6 p.m., drove to his sister Grace's house, and knocked on her door. Grace Williams opened the door and stared at her brother in shock. "Nathan, what are you doing here?" "I wanted to see my nephew and to apologize for missing his birthday last month. And the month before that. It's pretty much every important event for the past 2 years." Grace stepped aside to let him in, still looking stunned. "Tommy, come here, baby. Your Uncle Nathan is here." 7-year-old Tommy Williams appeared around the corner, cautious but curious. He had seen his uncle maybe 5 times in his entire life, and never at their house. "Hi, Uncle Nathan," Tommy said shyly. Nathan knelt down to Tommy's eye level. "Hi. Buddy, I brought you something." Pulled out a wrapped package. "It's a little late for your birthday, but I was hoping you might like it anyway." Tommy opened the package to reveal a high-end remote-controlled helicopter, the kind that Nathan's inner child had always wanted but had never allowed himself to buy. Wow, can we fly it now? If your mom says it's okay? Grace watched in amazement as her workaholic brother spent the next 2 hours on the floor of her living room, teaching Tommy how to operate the helicopter and laughing at the boy's delighted squeals when it performed aerial tricks. What's gotten into you? Grace asked. When Tommy finally went to bed, I hired a new assistant. She's been teaching me some things about balance and priorities. She must be quite something. Then smiled, thinking about Sophia's fierce loyalty that afternoon and the way she had dismantled Michael's manipulation. Without breaking a sweat, she is. She really is. 3 days later, Jennifer Morgan, an investigative journalist from the Business Tribune, called Cross Industries requesting an interview. Not with Nathan Cross, but with Sophia Chen. To interview me? Sophia looked up from her computer in surprise. Apparently, word has gotten out about the changes here. She wants to write a feature article about innovative management strategies in modern corporations. Nathan frowned. I don't like it. Too much publicity could make you a target for other companies looking to poach talent. Or it could inspire other companies to treat their employees better, Sophia countered. Isn't that a good thing? Nathan considered this. 3 weeks ago, he would have refused the interview automatically, citing corporate privacy and competitive concerns. Today, he found himself thinking about the bigger picture. Do the interview, he decided. But I want to be there. Why? Because I want people to know that Cross Industries supports innovation at every level. And because, Nathan hesitated, because I'm proud of what you've accomplished here, I want people to know that. The interview took place the following Tuesday, in Cross Industries' main conference room. Jennifer Morgan turned out to be a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who had built her reputation on uncovering the truth behind corporate success stories. Miss Chen, she began, you've been with Cross Industries for less than a month, yet the company has undergone dramatic changes. How do you account for that? I think the potential for positive change was always here, Sophia replied carefully. Sometimes organizations just need someone to facilitate communication and trust, and Mr. Cross was receptive to these changes. Nathan, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, spoke up. Miss Chen didn't ask my permission to improve this company. She just did it, and she was right. Jennifer's eyebrows rose. That's an unusual admission from a CEO who's known for maintaining strict control over all corporate decisions. Learning that control and leadership aren't the same thing, Nathan said. Real leadership means trusting people to do their jobs well and supporting them when they do. Some of your competitors suggest that Cross Industries' new approach is unsustainable, that prioritizing employee satisfaction over profit margins will ultimately hurt the company's competitive position. Nathan and Sophia exchanged a look.
Eyes.
Profit margins have increased by 12% since implementing these changes, Nathan replied. Happy employees are productive employees. It's not a revolutionary concept, but it's apparently a rare one. Miss Chen, there are rumors that several major corporations have tried to recruit you. Any truth to that? I've received some offers, Sophia admitted. But I'm not interested in leaving Cross Industries. Why not? Some of these offers reportedly include significant salary increases in executive-level positions. Sophia glanced at Nathan, who was watching her with an expression of genuine curiosity. Because I believe in what we're building here. Because I work for someone who values people over profits. It's quite an endorsement for your boss. Nathan Cross is the most dedicated leader I've ever worked with. He's just learned to channel that dedication in ways that lift up everyone around him instead of intimidating them. After the interview, Jennifer lingered to speak with Nathan privately.
Oh.
Mr. Cross, I've been covering corporate stories for 15 years, and I've never seen a transformation quite like this. What really changed? Nathan thought about the question seriously. I met someone who wasn't afraid to tell me I was wrong. More importantly, who cared enough about this company to fight for it, even when fighting meant confronting me. You're talking about Miss Chen. I'm talking about the kind of person who sees potential instead of problems, who believes that people are worth investing in. Nathan paused. I spent 8 years building walls to protect myself and my company. Sophia showed me that those walls were actually prisons. The article ran the following week with the headline, The Assistant Who Reformed a Corporate Tyrant, How One Woman Changed Everything at Cross Industries. It included photos of Nathan and Sophia working together, quotes from employees about the improved workplace culture, and financial data showing the company's increased profitability. What struck Nathan most was the final paragraph. In an era of corporate scandals and toxic workplace cultures, Cross Industries stands as proof that business success and human decency are not mutually exclusive. The partnership between CEO Nathan Cross and executive assistant Sophia Chen demonstrates that the most powerful changes often come from the most unexpected places. Sometimes, all it takes is one person brave enough to speak truth to power. That evening, Nathan found Sophia still at her desk, reviewing the next day's schedule. "You don't have to stay so late," he said, settling into the chair across from her desk. "The company won't collapse if you go home at a reasonable hour," says the man who used to sleep in his office 3 nights a week. I'm learning to take my own advice, sort of." Nathan smiled. "Did you read the article?" "I did. It was very flattering. It was accurate. You did reform a corporate tyrant." Sophia looked up from her computer. "You were never a tyrant, Nathan. You were just scared."